What's up, everybody? I am super pumped to interview Brittany Hodak, the author of Creating Superfans. And the subtitle is How to Turn Your Customers into Lifetime Advocates. What's up, Brittany?
Hey, it's so good to see you again, Dave. It's been too long.
It's been way too long. And, before we completely go down the path of the headline here, I do want to call out Brittany. When did you launch your book? It's been a little over
In January.
in
It's
January.
oh my gosh, almost 11 months, I guess.
Almost 11 months. And, there's a lot of speakers that are great speakers. And Brittany is one of those great speakers. She spoke on over 50 stages this year. Want to see her on more stages in the mortgage business, but she's blown up in the real world. I mean, she is the number one resource on just experience and creating clients for life. But when she rolled out her book, like I got an experience. I mean, I don't know if you can see the scale on this. Like this
It's
is the
giant.
book.
It's not book sized. Bigger
Yeah,
than
it's
movies.
it's big. And when you open it up, it's got like a little video that starts playing. Boom, boom.
So much.
Did you hear that? Personalized video built into a big branded, amazing experience. Again, it was just like, what an experience. I've had lots of friends that are authors that have launched books. I've, been honored to be mentioned in many of them, but no one created like the lasting memory. And I have this in a prominent space just because I want to remember not only experience equals super fans, but I also just always want to be reminded on how to play big. So congrats and thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I've wanted to write a book, honestly, my whole life. Like I remember when I was 4, 5, 6 years old, I would cut paper and staple or tape it together and draw on it and pretend that those were my books. Like I just always wanted to be an author. So when I finally got to launch my book this year, I wanted to do something fun and special and a little bit over the top. I was like, if you only get to launch your first book one time, I wanted to make it a little bit extravagant.
Yeah, well, you come on, that's how you roll. And then for Halloween, I got a super creative gift from you.
Oh,
The Savages dug it. Like that was super fun, super creative. So it's just you walk your talk, who you are on stage, the stories you tell, the messages you have. Like it's how you do life, it's how you lead. So I really respect that.
well, thank you. I was just at a mastermind for speakers in New York with my dear friend, Phil Jones, and many of us were there. And he said that he thinks one of the keys to really being a great speaker is you have to believe what you're saying so much that it's like the only way you live, like that authenticity in everything that you do. And whatever your message is, you have to see it everywhere. It has to keep you up at night. And he wrote a very, very popular book called Exactly What to Say that sold, like, I think, almost 3 million copies now at this point, and it's been
It
serialized
has.
in real estate and a lot of other industries. And he was like, I think about exactly what to say all the time, constantly, everywhere, because I feel like the right words are the key to solving all the problems in the world. And I was just thinking that's like exactly how I see life. Everything to me is through this lens of customer experience and what people can do to turn their customers into super fans, and how we can go from this transactional lens to really an experiential lens where we're obsessed with giving people the kinds of experiences that they want to talk about and they want to come back for, and just really living life, even though it's like your job, having it be your purpose to meet people and make their lives better and like collect this amazing community of people whose lives you've enriched in some way. So I try to walk the talk.
Yeah, well, you definitely do. And I actually interviewed Phil for the first time this year, and it was an incredible interview. It's one of the, I think, 5 most viewed interviews I've done this year. And then he co-hosted Scriptapalooza. So big fan of that man. And
Yeah, he is
it is a
brilliant.
must. I'll put a link down below to our first interview, and it was incredible. So that's
Yeah.
cool that you guys
Everybody
are
watching, if
buds.
you have not read Exactly What to Say, buy it right now. Like it is a book that every single person working, not just in mortgage, but in any like sales capacity, you have to read this book. It will make you so much better, not just at your job, but at life. It's like one of those books that I feel like
Yeah.
once you read it, you do life differently.
And it's super quick read. It's like a I don't even think it's 2 hours. I think it's like
It's
an
like an
hour
hour,
and a
yeah, it's
half
like
or
an hour and a half.
2 hour audiobook, so you can listen to the audiobook. It's a must. So Brittany, we are at a time, we're in the last couple days of November of 2023. It is winter. I mean, not only is it winter because it's November and we're, getting into the cold season in the mortgage and real estate business. I mean, it's tough out there. There's an inventory crisis still. Um, you know, Rates went down to 2 and 3%, and now they're over 7%. And at one point we're at 8%. Uh, I always talk about in mortgage, there's a C shift. Like that's changed. Like 63% of families have 2% and 3% mortgages, and they're never going there again. So it's like interest rates and the actual rate itself, the price is never going to be great. Like people always go, remember when they were 2 and 3%? And so that C shift and the fact that the price of mortgages are never going to be great again, experience matters more than ever. And then real estate agents are in this storm of, multiple lawsuits changing the way they're compensated, and disconnecting the listing with the listing agent gets paid versus what the buyer agents get paid. And to me, in my mind, it all just adds up to experience, brand matters more than ever. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, experience absolutely matters more than ever before. And I think anytime you have a shift in an industry, it feels really scary while you're in it. But when you have the benefit of being able to look back, I think there's almost always some good, right? Like what's happening on the real estate side right now, there's going to be some good to come out of it for consumers and also for the real estate industry. Because I mean, like, let's be honest, there are a lot of not that great realtors who've had pretty cushy livings for a while with that guaranteed commission. And because of that, the industry has gotten a reputation of like, what is a realtor even for? What do they do? Some of them are so terrible because they're being judged by like some of the ones who are not approaching it seriously, are not doing a great job. And so I think on the real estate side, you're going to see a lot of the lower performers shake out, just like we've seen happen in mortgage in the past couple of years. The people who, in 2020 were like, what a job where money falls from the sky. I'll do this. I'm going to go like pick up the phone and call 75 people and get 75 refis and like put a pool in my backyard. Like those people are no longer in the industry. So I think while it is a time of transition, this is when leading with experience, showcasing customer obsession, and giving someone an incredible experience start to finish matters more than ever before. And like when you give people something to talk about, they're not going to be talking about commission lawsuits. They're not going to be talking about rates. They're not going to be talking about uncertainty. They're going to be talking about how great it was to work with Phil or how great it was to work with Maggie and what that experience was like. So when you're in a metaphorical winter, you really got to double down. You've got to double down on the relationships that you already have, the people who already know and love you, even if you know they're not going anywhere for a few years, like they're not going to be out of that house. You want to be sure that you're continuing to show up and add value so that you're top of mind when they're in a position to refer you.
Yeah, no doubt. And I really want to push everyone. Like it's time to start planning. I did a call with Jeremy Forcier today, who is gaining market share. Like, no, he's not breaking records with the number of loans he's closing, but he's the number one loan officer in the county that he serves. And he's like, and the whole thing was separation season. Like this is the season where we separate. And so for every mortgage professional listening to this, by the time you're listening to it, it's probably the beginning of December, but spring home buying season starts now. And anyone in real estate and mortgage knows, hey, that's where all the business is. But it's what you do right now in this separation season that positions you when it really gets good. So let's just kind of do an audit, recognizing what time of year it is, recognizing I would love realtors to watch this. While my audience is primarily mortgage professionals and executives who run mortgage companies, but I want them to bring value and leadership to realtors. So wherever you want to, like, hey, loan officers or hey, realtors, let's try to create something here that mortgage professionals get better during separation season right now. And they want to go and give them a nugget that they can take to their next realtor meeting. In addition to bringing your book and giving it to a realtor, give them
It does
some
make a
ideas.
lovely gift this time
Yeah,
of year.
you notice how I threw that in? Get a case of these books before the year is out. Hand them
Well,
out to realtors.
Thank you. Thank you for that plug. And if you do get a case or even just a couple and you want me to send you autographed nameplates to personalize them, I'm happy to do that. So anybody just reach out to me. I'm Brittany at BrittanyHodak.com. I'll be happy to autograph nameplates and personalize them for any of your realtor partners or other partners. But I think you're exactly right, Dave. This is a time where if you have fewer deals right now, you've got to be not just planning for the future, but reflecting on 2023 and even 2022. Where did your deals come from? Have you kept in touch with all of those customers, all of those lenders? Did you get reviews from them? Are you leveraging, the SEO power of those reviews? Like looking back to help you look forward with even greater clarity and setting the goals and making the commitments to the behaviors and the habits that may need to change to have you exactly where you want to be at the end of 2024.
Cool. So let's do a little audit for mortgage and real estate professionals. What should they do if they were going to, schedule an hour and think about how they can improve the experience they deliver and how they can turn customers into lifelong advocates? What comes to mind?
So the first thing I would do is look at every single deal you closed in 2023. And I would ask yourself, with that customer, how did they find you? What was the first time that you connected with them? Was it through a warm introduction? Did they find you on a Google search? How did that happen? Now, hopefully this is information that you already have, but if you're not yet capturing this information, never, ever, ever do a deal in the future without capturing it. It is critical for you to know what precipitated that first touch, what led them to reach out to you. Now, the next thing I want you to do is to take a step backwards from there and say, okay, what transpired before they reached out to you? Was it that conversation? Was it that they Googled you? Like, what was the behavior? Because I want you to backpedal, because for every single person who reached out to you, there is an untold number of people who did not. So what can we fix to help capture some of those leads that we don't even know we're losing because we don't know who those people are? We don't know who was like, meh, they look okay, like didn't take the action to call, didn't take the action to send an email. So after you make a list of where every borrower came from, to use the mortgage side for a second, after you make a list and you see where they all came from, ask yourself, what do you think they did? Did they land on your website? If they landed on your website, what do they see? Like, how long has it been since you refreshed your website? How long has it been since you Googled yourself in incognito mode to see what was coming up? How long has it been since you went to all of your social sites as someone, objectively looking to say, what is this person all about? What are the things that they do? How are they showing up to help people like me solve problems like the one that I have? And do an honest audit of those things. Now, sometimes it's really hard to be objective about ourselves. So this is an exercise that may be easier for you to complete if you team up with a buddy, either somebody in your office or someone who's just a trusted colleague. You can audit their pages, they can audit yours to help you really get clarity on what it is that people are seeing when they check you out. And I'm sorry for my dog going crazy in the background.
It's okay. I mean,
all the Black Friday packages are getting delivered right now.
And you could barely just surprise. I have the same thing where my dogs just go nuts. Fortunately, my mic kind of mutes it, but just know that we could barely hear it. So all good.
Okay, perfect. So that's the first thing I would do is really ask yourself, where did they come from? And what do I think was the decision-making process that led to them reaching out to me? Because what that's going to allow you to do is lean into the things that are working and also uncover some things that could be working a little bit better. And if you find yourself in a slow season, if you find yourself approaching a time where you've got fewer deals that you're actively working right now, this is an amazing time to work on your brand. Like if you're not working in the business right now, work on the business. What can you do to improve the brand of you so that when someone does recommend you, when someone does refer you, somebody looking at you says, oh yeah, this looks like a great fit for me, rather than, Yeah, I mean, aren't they all about the same? And then like maybe they remember your name 3 days later when they come back to it, maybe they don't.
I love that. You know, I released an interview 12 days ago. Stratmore has a new service, a secret shopper experience, and Brett McCracken runs that. And I did an interview called How to Improve Profits Through Secret Shopping. And I kind of came away from the conversation I had with him and all the diligence that they're putting into the shopping. And I'm like, everybody should be secret shopping at least once a year and just seeing what it looks like out there when applying for a mortgage. Any thoughts on that and where that might fit in your playbook?
Yes, I love the idea of secret shopping. And to the extent that you can have someone secret shop you, you should absolutely do it. Another way that you can accomplish some of those things is just to have a really honest, in-depth, like post-close interview with a client. Pick a couple of clients that you've worked with this year, maybe first time home buyers who like have not ever been through this process before, weren't sure what to expect, and just say, hey, can I take you to lunch? No agenda. I would just love to buy you lunch and hear from you what you enjoyed about the process of working together and where you feel like there are opportunities for me to remove friction. In general, people are incredibly helpful. They love sharing their opinions. They love helping people get better. So if you reach out to 3 or 4 clients and ask if you can take them to lunch, and position it too as like you're going to answer questions that they have, because mortgages are confusing and that doesn't end on closing day. Like I talk sometimes about when I bought the house that I live in now, and a few weeks later I was like, wait, what do you mean my loan got sold? Like nobody told me this was going to happen. What does this mean? Wait, what's all this weird paperwork showing up from all of these other companies on like colored pieces of paper about my loan at this address? Like, is this spam? Is this real mail? What's going on? Like, so if you position it as you want to buy somebody lunch, you want to hear what you could do to improve the process, and also you want to help give them the knowledge that they need to be really confident and secure in this purchase, like moving forward. Some people are going to tell you yes. Not everyone is going to say yes, but that's fine. So what you do at that lunch is ask very specific questions. Like you never want to ask general questions, because when you ask general questions, you're going to get general answers that maybe aren't that helpful. But think about these steps in a customer's loan journey that are the same 90% of the time. Like there are certain things that are going to happen. Somebody is going to have to fill out that pre-qual paperwork. Somebody is going to have to send you all of their financial information. There's going to be an appraisal that has to happen. Somebody is going to, get clear to close. All of these things that happen every single time. So write down those milestones and then ask about those to those customers. What did they feel like they weren't prepared for? Like, was there anything that surprised them? Was there anything that felt hard or difficult? Was there anything that took longer than they were expecting? Oftentimes, for a customer going through a long, confusing, nebulous process like a mortgage, because like you can't see it, you can't touch it. It's like nobody grows up, like nobody thinks like when I grow up I want to get a mortgage, right? Like that's not like a thing. So it's hard. It's not like you're selling somebody something they can like see and touch and like, oh, at the end you get a Tesla, right? It's like it's a mortgage. You can't see it. Like you are paying on it forever and ever. So ask your customers what the points in the journey were that were more difficult than they anticipated, that moved a little less quickly than they anticipated. A lot of times in these like nebulous processes where you're getting like a mortgage or insurance or something else that was like not ever on your Christmas list as a kid, one of the things that's confusing is you're not sure what's coming next and you're not sure how long it's going to take. So what I would encourage everyone to also do during this off season, and this is particularly effective if you pair it with a lunch meeting or a phone call with somebody who's recently been a client, is look at those milestone moments that are happening every time and ask yourself if you're communicating expectations clearly, both ahead of time and what happens next. Think of it like a Domino's pizza tracker, where it's like, we got your order. Your order's in the oven, your order's out of the oven, your order's on the way to your house, your order's here. Think about those steps for your customer. How clear can you make them all? And how can you over communicate? Like, Here's what needs to happen now to get to this step. Okay, we're at this step. It's going to take between this number and this number of days to get to the next step. Here's what that means. Here's what that happens. Whether you're visually showing that to them or not, how can you help them understand the process? Because the more people feel like they understand the process, the more likely they are to say it's a great experience, because they don't have that like cognitive dissonance of like, is everything okay? What's happening? What's happening next? Like, where am I? What do I owe somebody?
So, you said the word milestone moments, and I want to add a couple more things, and then I want to get your take on this. When you go back and you look at all the customers you close business with, I want to make sure that you're looking at what is your customer satisfaction scores. Like, I think it would be really cool. Who did I close business with? What was the source? What was the customer satisfaction score? Did I have to give a price exception? Like, price exceptions are a big deal in the mortgage business right now. And we know that there are some loan officers that have a lot less price exceptions than others. Like, they're not all equal. Also want you to look at your conversion rate and know how you compare to others at your company. Because at the end of the day, if you got a great conversion rate, like I meet someone, I talk to them, they do business with me better than everyone else in my company. I have a better satisfaction score than 95% of America. I have less price exceptions. You know what? I bet you got a pretty good experience. And then so I just want to make sure that as you're kind of auditing things, you're looking at metrics like conversion, profitability, and customer satisfaction score. And then milestone moments. What are the 3 to 5 moments that matter most? Like, we know here at Mortgage Coach that a fee worksheet versus a total cost analysis, that's a milestone moment, when price is delivered to a consumer. And we know that if it's done one way versus another, one way has at least a 10% better conversion and is at least 10 basis points more profitable. But there's other milestone moments. So any thoughts on one, how many milestone moments, like, because you know the mortgage industry pretty well, you've spoken at a lot of stages. How many milestone moments do you think the typical loan officer should be paying attention to and auditing? And if it's different for a realtor, call that out.
So I would say for mortgage, and it's same sort of principle, it is true for real estate. Start with as many as you can reliably do, because if you pick 3 and you are consistently above average with those 3, your business will go up. And then once you've got those 3 systemized, like once you've got those on lock, add another one. And maybe that 4th one is 6 months post-close, 12 months post-close. Like, where I find a lot of LOs have a huge opportunity is post-transaction. And I think sometimes LOs don't want to do that because it's going to be years before somebody's closing. But right now, every single person who does a loan with you is going to want to refi in a few years when the rates do go back down. So it is
Few
more
years. Well, hopefully next
exactly.
year.
It could be a year. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like at some point very soon. So it is more important than it has ever been before. So if you don't have at least 2 touch points that without a doubt happen every single time, like a month or more after close, that is your homework. Figure that out today. There are tools that you can use to automate some of those touches. I am a huge fan of a website called handwritten.com, handwritten with a Y,
Yeah.
where you can schedule out cards in advance that are written in your own handwriting with like a, robot pen. Figure out what those touches are. Figure out in the market that you are, like, what are the reminders that you need to be giving people? It could be as simple as saying like, I live in Franklin, Tennessee. Our town loves a parade. Like, we have so many parades and festivals and so much stuff downtown. Like, every single year, it's actually from one of the dentists in the family. They send a list of like all the festivals that are happening, like, starting in March all the way through August. And we're like, yes. And it always goes on the refrigerator because we never want to miss the 3rd Saturday in April celebration or whatever it is. So whatever it is that's contextually relevant to your clients, just write that down. Figure out how you can communicate to them. Make sure that you don't go too long without touches. Start with 3. make sure that one of those is post close. And once you get a system around those to deploy them consistently, and you know that they're going to exceed expectations, then I would add another. To follow up on something that you said before too, with the price exceptions, I would look at every deal where you had a price exception and see where that came from and what led to you having to do the price exception. Was it purely a market-based thing, or was it because you were being rate shopped? And if it's because you were being rate shopped or compared to someone else, is it because you weren't the first one in? Were you trying to win a business win that business that somebody else had already started a conversation with? One of my friends, Jay Bear, wrote, I call it a book. Calling it a book is like a little generous. It's more like a booklet, like it's a very small book. It's called The Time to Win. And he wrote this book to be read in under an hour. Like it makes exactly what to say look like a, Tolkien book, like The Time to Win. You can read it in under an hour. And one of the points that Jay makes in the book is that oftentimes people think they've lost on dollars, but what they really lost on was speed. And because they weren't the first one in, they've had to deduct, some of the profit that they would have made to win that business. And that if we look at the times that we're actually having to make some of those exceptions, we may find that had we, got to that person a day sooner, or returned the phone call an hour earlier, or taken that realtor to lunch sooner to get the recommendation, the pass along, maybe that wouldn't have been necessary. So I would also, like, when you're looking at all the deals where you had to make a price exception, see how many were because you were competing with somebody else. And if that is a factor, if that's a pattern that you see, ask yourself what you can do to make that not be the situation as often, because oftentimes it's easy for us to get in a spot where we're like, oh, I have to do this because this is what the market wants, when that may not be what the market is telling you. That may not be what the truth of the matter is. So getting clear on that data and looking at it is a really helpful exercise that could help you, from like discounting things because you feel like you have to in the future.
So is your friend Jay that you just called out, is that Tequila Jay Bear?
Tequila Jay Bear, yes. The
Oh
one
my
and
God.
only tequila influencer, Jay Bear.
Yeah. So by the way, for anyone who likes tequila like me, he's got a very legit tequila Instagram. Check out Tequila J Bear. He's got like 139,000 followers, and it's edutaining.
It is.
You
Do
get
you know Jay?
education, huh?
Do you and
No, I
Jay know
don't know
each
him, but
other?
I have someone forwarded me one of his tequila posts, and I've follow him, and I've bought a few tequilas that he's recommended.
All right. Well, I'm going to connect the two of you because you would absolutely get along. Before he became a tequila influencer by accident, he spent almost 20 years as a professional speaker. He speaks on marketing and social media and customer experience. And he's really, throughout his career, he's always been several years ahead of like, this is the trend that
So I need to interview him.
You need to know him. You absolutely need to know him.
Okay, yeah. Introduce me. I mean,
Yep.
seriously, I've bought more than two tequilas
Well,
that he's recommended.
I will connect you guys and you will be friends.
Yeah.
The thing that has always been the through line of his career is like whatever he is talking about now is what everyone's going to be talking about in a few years. I don't know if the tequila thing will hold true. Maybe tequila will become even more popular.
It's a pretty big deal. I mean, George Clooney made $1 billion with his tequila brand. So and Jay started doing this thing. Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, oh no, he 100% knows what he's doing. And so in his book, The Time to Win, he makes the argument that like, this is the time to be figuring out how you shave time off your response, but also what it is that your customers have to do. Like, how can you remove friction by making things faster? And I think in the mortgage industry, especially, this is one where LOs have the ability to differentiate themselves to help the process that we all know is crazy to get that mortgage feel a little simpler. So again, Jay's book is a really great sort of counterbalance of Sometimes you think you're losing because of price. Sometimes you think you're losing because of distance, because of other factors, but oftentimes it's speed because people are busier than they've ever been.
Yeah.
They want to like make a decision now and be done. And if you're not making it easy for them to make a decision now and be done, if somebody goes to your socials and like doesn't see your email address, doesn't see your phone number, they're like, it will be quicker for me to find someone else than it will to like click 4 times to get the information I need on your website. Like it is easier to just like get another suggestion from another friend than it is to keep clicking. And so that's why you've got to optimize everything to make it as simple as possible for someone to do business with you.
Yeah, we talk a lot about speed to need. Like for forever, speed to lead was, like that's how you win. But in this era, it's speed to need. Like you need to not only get there first, but you need to be able to address the consumer. And here at Trust Engine, we even talk about being able to predict the needs of the consumer. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of data where a mortgage professional now with Trust Engine's borrower intelligence, we know what that customer needs to achieve financial freedom and homeownership more than they know it. And we need to get there. We need to anticipate it. We need to give them an educational experience. We need to, inspire them, educate them, and be the first ones to address their needs. So last question. I think Kristen and I launched a nonprofit called First Home IQ that's really dedicated to turning mortgage professionals into the first responders to the financial literacy crisis. And the way we're doing that is educating Gen Z around homeownership. Also there's just a number of millennials that are hitting that ideal home buying age. So I want you to kind of answer it. And maybe it's 2 answers, like with millennials, it's this, with Gen Z, it's this. Although I think there's a lot of commonalities between Gen Z and millennials. They both leverage digital. They are both on social media. But what are some things that mortgage and real estate professionals should take into consider with first-time home buyers, which are either millennials or Gen Z by and large?
I think one is there's so much misinformation or miseducation of people who just assume they can never get a home because that's what they hear. That's what they see online. That's what they hear in the media. Like, oh, it's impossible to get a home. It's impossible to get a home. I think another thing is from talking to a lot of my younger cousins, they are scared to get a home because they're like, I don't know how anything works. I grew up, my dad was a craftsman. He could fix anything. He could build anything. He could do anything. I think that a lot of people that are millennial and Gen Z don't have that. Like we haven't had such a focus on the trades. And so people are like, oh, this idea of owning a house is scary. What do I do if this breaks? What if I do if that break? Like it's so much easier to just, rent and have somebody take care of all the things for me. So I think in addition to the education around you need to own a home. This is how you create wealth. This is how you create intergenerational wealth. This is how you free yourself up to travel more, to do more, to have the kinds of experiences that you need and want. I think LOs also have the opportunity to establish themselves as the go-to to help when things go wrong. Like, I'm not going to just help you get into this home. I want to be your first line of defense when you're like, something broke, I don't know what to do. Because think about it. If you're in your local market or a few markets and you can create those relationships with the crafts people who are going to come in and do things, and not just handymen, but like the HVAC people and the painters and the flooring people and the electrical people, that all of your borrowers are going to need those services at some point. So positioning yourself as, I'm not here to originate your loan. I'm here to help you ensure that this purchase that you make works for you and protects you for decades. That's how you set yourself up as a lifelong partner. That's how you make somebody not like delete your number from their phone as soon as like the loan has closed, but say, I got to make sure that I remember when I need a recommendation for this trade for this person, when I don't know what to do about this, when I get this letter in the mail about property taxes and I'm confused. And if you do that, that creates all of those sticky touch points to keep in touch with those clients post-close.
Last question, because now you made me think of another one. I've been doing a whole series of
Real
interviews.
last question.
I know, but called Purpose and Profits. And I'm just this believer that the more purpose driven you are, and you called out one purpose. I'm going to help you achieve financial freedom with homeownership. That's a better purpose than I'm going to help close your loan on time. Like one is a bigger purpose. And then the purpose that, hey, I'm this first home IQ ambassador who is really making a difference in our local communities by educating the next generation. That is purpose. And I do believe that people that are really doing things big, helping communities, selling something more than mortgages, being more than a realtor, they're going to crush. They're going to be much more profitable. Any thoughts on how to weave, like, we've got a lot of first home IQ ambassadors. Any quick tips on how to weave your purpose into your experience and into your message?
Absolutely. So in my book, I talk about the fact that starting with your story, being able to deploy your story in a way that resonates with your ideal customer is the first step in creating amazing customer experiences. You've got to be able to tell your story in a way that is sticky and that resonates. So talking about that, talking about if you have a belief that anyone who works hard and wants to own a home should be able to do so, and your purpose is to help make that possible. And the way that you do it is that you know more about, the different types of loans and the different programs that exist than like 99% of people on the planet will ever know, then that is a clear alignment between your story and your purpose. And it's something that someone who wants to own a home can clearly see value in of, oh, they help people like me solve problems like these that I have. So never be afraid to tell your story. Never be afraid to deploy it. We should do an entire episode, Dave, where we workshop origin stories in real time. That would be a lot of fun. So we'll have to get that scheduled, and maybe we can do it in the Facebook group where people can pop in, and we can do real time origin story workshopping of how to deploy your purpose in a way at the beginning of the experience that people remember and react to.
So guys, stay tuned. We're going to get another call going. I really want to schedule that because we've got a lot of mortgage professionals that are becoming more and more purpose focused, and they want to do well profitably. And I would love to workshop that with you. Brittany, you're amazing. Anyone watching this, at a minimum, buy and read this book. Buy a case of the books. This is a great conversation to have with your realtors. It's very instructional. I mean, it could be a total workshop that you can, collaborate with real estate agents on. Any closing thoughts you have before we wrap it?
Remember, the experience of working with you is the only long-term competitive advantage you have. Rates go up, rates go down, markets change. The experience, how people feel working with you, is who you are. That is your reputation. That is your brand. That is the number one thing that you should be spending your time and energy cultivating.
Boom. I love that. Your experience is your single biggest competitive advantage.
And it's the one that's the hardest for anyone else to copy. No one else is going to be as good at being you as you are.
Love that. Well, it was awesome. Great catching up. I look forward to our next session together.
Me too. Great to see you. Bye.
All right. Take care, everybody.